This is a space of discovery. This is a space of remembrance. Join A.L. Garris and welcome to this space.
You know that there are multiple whys that answer the question why we are here. Why are we here on earth? Why are we here in this human existence? There are multiple whys. There are so many whys, it's like almost incomprehensible, but we can look at a couple whys today in this space. And so I wrote these words down. I do that a lot where I just get like messages, information, understandings coming in. People say, oh, where do you get them from? Where are they coming in from? They're coming in from this is where I'm at right now. Okay, this is my interpretation right now, and I think it's a pretty solid one. It hasn't changed in many, many, many years. But they're coming in from the higher mind and the higher heart, which are our spaces of connection. So we have the human body with our own human mind, our individual mind, yes, your own individual heart. And then that mind and heart as a human is connected energetically to a higher mind connection point of the understanding of the one within the many, and a higher heart connection point of the one within the many. So some would like to use the word God inside of all its variation points, all its experiential spaces exploring itself, or source, or great spirit, or the divine, or the I am. But that's where I get my information from. Our space of remembrance of ourselves as the I am. So there are multiple whys that we are here. There's the expansion of and the remembrance of this space of ourselves as the one. There's the creative reality lines that are available, and each of them offering a beautiful why, like if you believe that you are here to assist the ascension process, to assist the awakening of humanity, to assist others who are on this journey of their spiritual awareness, and you find yourself in an alignment where you would consider yourself a light worker, an energy healer, a medium, somebody who is maybe in their understanding of themselves at what they would call the forefront of this wave of shift in consciousness running through the human collective and earth. And if that were an alignment for you, then one of your whys, or your main why, would be that you are here to assist this, right? You're here to allow the expansion within your own being, allow the healing within your own being, anchor it deeply, run it through your energy, your vibrational field of alignment with the collective as a space of the collective, and within all consciousness as a space of all consciousness as well. And then as you do that in your own self, you then shift into a point of reference where you are more available to assist others in doing it in their beings and in their lives as well. Now, this is because you know you cannot pour from an empty cup, right? So you fill yours first. But if you are in that alignment, there's your why, or a why. You could have even more. And so maybe you're here and you know, you're in a different belief structure, interpretation of yourself and of this reality that we're experiencing right now in Earth and on Earth. And so your why might be a bit different. There's multiple whys. Why is it even beneficial to understand there's multiple whys? Because so many times I work with clients and students all over the world, and I've seen many times where individuals will get very wrapped up in somebody else's why. or they'll get very wrapped up in specific guidance they are given by someone who is able to maybe see and understand a bit more than them, or in their opinion, they think that they can see more than them. And so maybe they say, you had a lifetime in Lemuria, or you had a lifetime in Atlantis, or did you know that you're a dragon in another space of your multidimensional self, or whatever it is. And so then the individual that's given that information creates a why based on that information, but leaves no room for, and I am more. And so then that slows down that individual's expansion and kind of locks them into one particular trajectory or movement, when they could have allowed themselves to remain in a more fluid state of expansion that would allow them to move smoother, more efficiently, and more effectively forward, if you will. That's not the right term. As they allow their understanding of multiple whys, as you allow your understanding of, don't box yourself in, please. If you have a specific alignment with a specific type of energy, reality line, belief structure, beautiful. But could you just add on, and I am more? I'm having a human experience. I believe myself to have been here before as a blah, blah, blah. And I believe now I work with this and I work with that. But could you also be more? Could you also be more? Why? Because it will assist you in continuing to move through that which you are in all levels of you. It will open up all your whys. Yes. To bring in more clarity and more availability. And there's nothing wrong with getting, like people that will say, well, I am the reincarnated version of Mary Magdalene, or they'll say, I am, a Palladian, and I'm here to share Palladian teachings and Palladian technologies, or I'm here and I understand the mermaids and I can share with mermaids and blah, blah. And all these things are beautiful. All these things are lovely. I'm just saying, if you can allow, if we will allow, that there is that, and always, always, always more, we are then giving ourselves the opportunity to be more. We're giving ourselves the opportunity to move more. And when you're in an ascension process at a point of reference that we are right now, that more is so helpful. That more helps with ascension symptoms. That more helps with energy sensitives. That more helps with the empath expanding out of the space in which it feels like everything is so intense, and into a space where everything is in an alignment in which they are navigating with more mastery. That more concept, faith, availability, understanding, belief structure, allowance gives the space needed for you to move. And I am more. Multiple whys. This is a really big one, because there's people who will say, and there's nothing wrong with this, okay? But it's just the locking in that I believe we benefit greatly from not doing. But there's people that will be very much in a belief structure that their concept of what reality is etched in stone, to where there's no other realities. So, like, let's just use this one. A Christian who believes in heaven and hell. If that is the only reality that is seen as available and true, then they've etched themselves into that space. So they're slowing themselves down, if you will, from the movement of their consciousness. And there's nothing wrong with it, and it can be a beautiful space in itself, but they are not going to move at the same rate because they have no space for more movement. And if the same can be said for the individual where it's all about star mothers, or the individual where it's all about Order of the Rose, or the individual where it's all about the Sophia Code, or whatever it is, it's still a lock-in to a specific concept of reality that limits the understanding and the availability that we are even more. We're always going to be more. We're always going to be more. We will never, ever catch ourselves in the understanding, as I'm saying, we will never be able to completely interpret ourselves, name ourselves. If you can name yourself, then you do not understand what eternal being means. If you can name yourself without the added line of, and I am more, then you are not in an alignment of yourself yet where you have remembered yourself as source. Source will never catch itself. Source will never be able to name itself. It may find spaces of itself to name, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's what I'm saying. Let's just acknowledge these are spaces. They do not have to be the be all end all. They do not have to take all of your energy and your focus. They can be given more of a lighthearted connection point, and that gives you the opportunity to continue to find more of you. Being more broad with your interpretation identifications is much more, it will assist more. It's much more beneficial. What do I mean by that? So I remember years and years ago, I felt I needed to, well, actually, I just started hearing inside of my being, remember who you are. And it would billow through my being. Remember who you are, like really deep voice. And so I kept hearing this. And so it made me think, okay, well, who am I? And of course, at that point, you go to the immediate I am, and you say your name, and then you realize you're a man or you're a woman. How are you? You know, you're a man, you're a woman, you're a wife, you're a husband, you're a mother, you're a father, you're a daughter, you're a sister, you're a brother, like all those things that are identification points for the human that are most common. Then maybe a role title like your job or whatever. And those are the most common things people go to if somebody says, who are you? Or you say to yourself, who am I, right? Yet that space of me kept opening and opening and opening. And I kept hearing, but you're more, you're more, you're more. Go back in, look again, you're more. And I kept understanding the message was I was being asked to allow my more. I needed to allow my more. It would be beneficial for me to allow my more. So I had to like, well, what is my more, you know? And so for me, the wording that helped as I was finding these spaces of myself that were more, and I was opening up all kinds of spiritual gifts and understandings, higher knowings. I was an energy healer. My clients were having incredible healing spaces land in their lives, seeing really big shifts in their lives. And it was all new. It was a deeper level. It was space I had not been yet. And so the more was landing, the more was showing up because I was giving it room to do so. And so I began to put together words that would assist me in being able to kind of identify with the more at a deeper level, but still be also this space of me that I am as a human. And so I came up with, I am a higher dimensional being of light here to assist humanity. That was my identification point. It is my identification point that I work very well with. It gives me space to be the more, but it identifies the space I am in as I'm being the more. I am in a human body. I am human, but I am also light. I am a higher dimensional being of light. And I'm in this human body. I'm in this human life for a purpose of assisting humanity in the ascension process, in remembering who they are, in allowing their more. So that's the space of alignment of my why that allows my more as well. So as you allow yourself to lean into your why and you allow yourself to be available, that there's a lot of different reality takes, like interpretations, and they're all available. It's not that one is right and one is wrong, or one is real and one is fake. If enough people believe in a reality line, it becomes a collective reality availability. And even if a lot of people don't believe in it and it's more into a specific smaller group and or individual's belief, it's still a reality line for those people. We create our realities. We can have a collective, we've talked about this before, you can have the collective reality, and it can have subsets because of the groups within the collective. Like, I always go to this because it's very simplistically easy to understand. We have an innumerable amount of Christians on the planet. Like, all of those are in what you would call like a Christian collective. So they've created reality lines that reflect, and then their experience is in alignment with their beliefs. And then there's this massive group of people that may be considered New Age, so they're coming in at a different belief structure, and their lives reflect that. The things they see and experience day in and day out reflect that. And, atheists, the space of science-based beliefs, all of these are available. And there's so many more, but these are easy for us to see and understand what I'm talking about. And it's really a powerful thought if you think about it at a deeper level, even the concept of the reality lines, the subset collectives. This is how you ascend a species. This is how you shift consciousness and expand consciousness, is you realize how much diversity there is in the space of consciousness, and you leave this mindset of one space is reality and the rest are just misunderstanding and wrong or something like that. When you can leave that and you can move into a space of belief and allowance where you just know that consciousness is too big, it's too vast. Belief structures matter, they create realities. And negating somebody's reality or belief structure and saying that it's not true, it doesn't make any sense if you understand how consciousness creates. It is true. If it's their faith is in that space, then that is a reality for them. They're creating their life in direct alignment with what they believe. So it's a reality, may not be your reality, but it's a reality. And allowing their understanding of that brings in the understanding of how everybody is coming in with a different why, There's a space of this as well that we could look at that helps open it up. And this is the fact that, there's been a lot of fear inside of the human collective. And whether we want to say manipulative, placed there for manipulation, which is a belief structure and a concept that is available, or whether we want to say it's prodding humanity forward and it's, like nothing's ever been wrong. It's just part of the process. Both work. There's a lot of people that would say, well, the fear that's inside of humanity is, it's a detriment. It's you need to clear the fear or you can't ascend. And then there's the other side of that coin that says, yes, but because there's fear to be found and shifted, it's the prod forward. So it's what's propelling humanity forward. So it's actually a tool or a good thing. And so, that in itself is interesting. There's the concept of nothing to fear but fear itself. And true, I truly believe that as well. There's the understanding that nothing's wrong. And I know that's a big one for everybody, or for a lot of people, because they will look at certain spaces of life and say, no, that shouldn't happen, so it's wrong. That's available. That is absolutely available. See how I'm allowing that for whoever wants to run that? That's available. But I'm also holding the alignment and the understanding and the availability that nothing's wrong, even when everything looks wrong or could be interpreted as wrong by someone. Nothing's wrong. It's all doing whatever it needs to do to move the energy accordingly to how this is being laid out by whoever's in connection with it. So the direct connections to the experience are creating it first and foremost. And the collective unit around the direct connections to each experience are assisting in some way. It's like when something goes on in your life that maybe you didn't see coming and maybe was not enjoyable to endure. But you understand that, or you have the opportunity to understand that sometimes those things are the very paths that lead us to the next space of us, or the very experiences we aligned because they would bring us the next space of the exploration that we would benefit from in some way. And even if there's pain involved and suffering involved, and maybe it's a family member who goes through it, or a dear friend, or yourself, but at the same time, is it not possible that that individual agreed to play that role so that that valuable space of alignment and movement of energy could happen? I know it's a stretch and it's a big one, but it's done me really well in life. Nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong. It's all unfolding the way we need it to go. It's all unfolding for the greatest good. And we're always going to be safe. We're always going to be loved. We're always going to be protected and guarded and guided. And it never, never not. So that in itself can really assist the movement of our energy and the reality lines we're connecting with. And some people will say, well, if it feels wrong and it looks wrong, then it is wrong. Yet I continue to say, why do you have to call it wrong when it may be what you need in order to get to the right, what you deem as right, what you see as right, what you interpret as the right space, right? Sometimes people will say, well, then, if you say nothing's wrong, even when something is wrong, then you're just lying. That's a big one. People will say, you're lying. You're not acknowledging the truth. And I say that it's not a lie. And it's not a lack of acknowledgement. It's a shift out of where we've been. It's a shift of out of where we've been. So for a very long time, we've been in this alignment of fear of what's wrong, fear of things going wrong, being very attached to specific realities as if they are the be all end all and the only thing available. And then even becoming attached and very good at running the cycle of fear in general. And so to run the concept of nothing's wrong, no matter what, because you believe and trust that you're always guided, guarded, protected. That is the shift out of where we've been. So the world we've been creating, the realities we've been experiencing for basically as long as anybody can ever remember, probably in human history, they've been coming out of, those experiences have been birthed from being afraid of everything, being always in a state of fear, being limited in our understanding of what realities are available and what reality is. So to allow ourselves to move into a space of our belief where we shift to nothing's wrong, we are safe, we are loved, period. We are peace, not because we feel and see peace outside in the everyday experience, but because we are peace. We are peace that passes all understanding. We are the peace. Then the peace is within the outer because it is within the inner. So the outer begins to reflect the opportunity for less rigidity on how we view reality and the realities that we're experiencing or reality that we're experiencing. When we can shift that, then our reality has more space. It has more opportunity to ebb and flow with peace because we don't have it gripped inside of fear. And our experiences get to leave that pattern and cycle of something always being wrong because we're giving them the opportunity to be seen as and acknowledged as, yes, we're safe. We're safe. We're loved. Peace is available because we're available to peace. We're being the peace. We're leaving where we've been and we're acknowledging that we are a new vibrational alignment of ourselves. It's a brand new way of seeing yourself and the world around you. So it can take a little bit of time to implement it and really get it into a flow that feels comfortable to you. But it is one of the most beneficial things we can ever do, ever, because it affects every aspect of our lives. It affects our health, physical, mental, emotional. It affects the well-being across the board. It affects our being in a quantum sense. So the now you and then the all that you are. It affects our ins and outs of our everyday life, our relationships, our jobs, every single aspect of us is affected in a positive manner by us allowing ourselves to make this space for ourselves and move into this higher vibrational alignment of ourselves where there is room for multiple whys, for why we are here, for who we are. We're so beyond anything we could ever name. All of the concepts, all of them, even the ones I teach, they are still not completely everything we are. They are not the full answer. They will never be, because Source, God, prime consciousness, the I am, great spirit, this space of us is always expanding. We're expanding in our now, right? We're expanding in this very second, in this very moment. And we are that source space. We're a variation point of it. So as we expand, source expands. God gets bigger. All consciousness makes up God. The animals, the squirrels, the birds, the butterflies, the caterpillars, the worms in the soil, the microbes, the mycelium, the trees. And that's just Earth. That's just this space. Every single reference point of consciousness is a space of the I am. And every single variation is experiencing itself and exploring, learning, growing, changing, shifting, expanding. And as every single space does so at whatever increment it's doing, God expands. We will never catch ourselves. We will never be done. Be okay with that. You can actually get really excited about that. That's an option. I've become extremely excited about that. I don't want to be done. I'm an eternal being. I would be bored out of my head if I was done. If I ever got to the point where I knew everything, I understood everything, every why was answered completely, every how, every what. Well, who wants to be that? Why? I would rather engage and embrace with great joy the limitless potential of myself. And I would rather get all up in the limitless potential of myself than to box myself up and limit myself into one specific space of why. I will always say, and I am more. Always. When something that's happening could be interpreted as bad or difficult or hard, and I am more. When something is going what we would interpret as really well, successful, abundant, beautiful, and fun, and I am more. When it's just balanced in such a way where it just feels like serene peace and it's not really moving in any high or any low, but it just is, and I am more. And I am more. It's not a lie. It's not a lie. It's not a lack of acknowledgement. It's a shift out of where we've been. We are light. We are higher dimensional beings of light. If you resonate with this, if you're still listening at this point, we are light. We are higher dimensional beings of light. And we came to remember it's a why. It's a big why. It's an important why. Because this expansion is the healthy flow of God. It's the healthy flow of source for consciousness to continue to evolve and expand. It's what it does. So as we allow, as we trust, as we lean in, and we remember our light, and we engage our light, which means we entertain it in the fact that we think about it, we begin to allow ourselves to walk, talk, live as that light in human vessels more and more, People meet me all the time in person and even on calls. I do a lot of Zoom calls with clients and groups. And many times, many times over the years, people will say to me, it's very unique to meet me. Like, as in, it's a unique experience to meet me because I am completely processing, communicating, connecting with all those around me as my light in my human form. So when you meet me, you meet a higher dimensional being of light in human form because I am that. I am embodied and implementing as 100%. I am 100% able to be and live as my human, and I am 100% able to be and live as my light in my human. So that which is born of flesh is flesh, that which is born of spirit is spirit. Marvel not, I say unto thee, ye must be born again. That is when the spirit is remembered within the flesh. And the life is lived as that light inhabiting flesh. So you're not becoming so lofty and self-righteous and prude and pious that you're all about the light and you look down on every part of regular human, existence. It's not about that. That's not about engaging your light. It's about engaging your light to where there's a balance. You're not living over here in full flesh, full carnal, getting caught up in drama, victimhood, addictions, addictive personality traits, egoic spaces of reference, where it's just so flesh based. It's so slow. It's so dense. It's, you can feel the difference. And you're not all the way over here in the light where you're so out of touch that there's no worth to remembering your light when the light is at a state of existence and where it is not present enough to assist you or anyone else. It's the balance point. It's the balance point in the center where the flesh merges with the light. And the flesh anchors the light. Your body, your being, your humanness is how you are anchoring your light. You're grounding it in for your own health and well-being, and also for the health and well-being of the human collective, the human species as a whole, because we're all connected. All energy, all consciousness is connected. We have separate bodies because we've slowed this thing down so greatly. So we could have this exploration point. We could go into a mode in which we could learn more and expand more. And also we can experience. You would get so bored. We would get so bored. We're eternal beings. You're going to sit on a cloud forever and ever and ever and ever and just listen to harps and play music. It's ridiculous. These trying to diss a specific space, and I'm just saying we create. Consciousness creates constantly. We are sub-creators of sub-creators of sub-creators of, you know what I mean? Like a space that created this alignment, and then we came in as a space of that creation point, and then we began creating as creator beings within a creation. This is so cool and so big and so trippy and so beautiful. And we get to be it. We get to be it. So there's a lot of information here. Be available to your more. Even if you think, yeah, that all sounds great, but I still know my reality, belief structure, I believe that this is what happens when you die. This is why we're here in this now. This is who we are. This is who they are. And I'm right. Mine is right. Even if that is where you're coming in from, it's okay. It's perfectly fine. But if you would just allow for just a few days, try on the sentence, package it up right behind that thought process and belief structure of everything being so locked in for you that, this is what it specifically is. This is who I am. This is who they are. This is reality. Try adding the sentence, and I am more. And there is more. Just see how it feels. You don't have to engage it and take it in as your definite, connection, your definite belief, but could you just see how it feels? If you have a belief structure of how we got to do this to communicate with source or God or the higher mind or the higher self or the oversoul or whatever terms you're using, and they all can be working terms. Nobody owns this thing to make it be one specific way. It's ridiculous to think that something that is incomprehensible, God, source, prime consciousness, the divine, could be boxed up in such a manner. You can absolutely have reference points that match your reality based on your beliefs. You do. That's true. 100%. You will experience according to your beliefs. And we can have very different beliefs and we can have very different experiences, but nobody gets to claim that their specific belief and their specific reality is the only right one. They're all a path back into alignment with our divinity. They're all a path back. Maybe they're different, absolutely. Maybe some might be considered more enjoyable paths. Some might be considered shorter paths, faster paths, longer paths. But they're all going to the same space. They're all going to get there. They're all going to get there. So, all right, I'm going to leave this here. I have a Patreon platform. If you enjoy my content and you'd like to take some of my classes, courses, hear my other audio spaces, check me out on Patreon, A.L. Garris on Patreon. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be these spaces with you. Thank you for remembering your light, and thank you for allowing it in your now. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.